Hi folks, and welcome to the finale of our little series on Armourfast Shermans. So far we've looked at the basic M4, the Sherman M4A3 with a 76mm gun, the Sherman Firefly with a 17-pounder, the M4A3 and the M4A2 both equipped with a 75mm, and the M4A3 with a 105mm howitzer. During the course of the series, at some point I mentioned that I would do a little size comparison between the actual Armourfast tanks themselves and indeed against some other brands that I have, mainly Airfix, Hasegawa and Matchbox. So this is where we find ourselves. So let's have a little look at how the actual Armourfast Shermans kind of square up against each other size-wise, just for a quick comparison. So here we are with a side-on view. So closest to the camera there we have the M4A3 76mm, followed by the M4A3 105, then the M4A2 75, the basic M4 with the 75, the M4A3 with the 75, and last but not least in the background there is the 17-pounder Sherman Firefly, used in British service, of course. As you can see, there's no major height difference in any of those. There's nothing protruding too much out the back or front from those. They're basically the same brand, they're the same scale, etc., etc. You would expect them to be basically the same in dimensions and all that. I mean, there is different marks and variants and that within those tanks there, of course, but generally speaking, they're all the same, so they will match up quite nicely on the old Wargames table. So perhaps we'll have a little look at them from an elevated perspective. Okay, so here we are from a slightly more elevated perspective. As you can see, no size difference there, really. I'm kind of squared off using the kind of the back of the engine compartment as a sort of a point from which to gain reference. And as you can see, there's no difference there, really, apart from obviously gun barrels and mud guards and bits and pieces like that. But as I say, they all match up very well, as one would expect, being all in the one brand. Of course, you have some variances in other brands, but as I say, these guys are pretty tight, so there's no major problem there. So let's have a look at them in comparison to some other brands. Okay, so here we are again in an elevated position looking down on the 76mm variants. On the extreme left there you have the Armourfast M4A3 with a 76mm gun. In the centre you have an M4 by Matchbox, a kind of a late production from the Matchbox company, with a 76mm as well. And then you have the M4E8 by Hasegawa, which I have kind of attempted to make look like Fury, which again has the 76mm gun. As you can see, the Hasegawa is quite larger. We had a look at this in the video I did for the Hasegawa. It is a very large kit for 172, I think myself, and the other two to the left of it are probably more accurate as regards 172 scale, I feel myself. But anyway, as I say, it doesn't bother me. It may bother you, but just at least you can see them there. So what we'll do is we'll have a little look at those guys from kind of a side-on perspective, from a height perspective as well. So here we are from a side-on perspective. Not much in a difference of height there, as you can see. Hasegawa at the back, a little bit larger, all right, in fairness, as I said previously, but no major difference between the Matchbox and the Armourfast. Now, they're not exactly the same mark or variant of Sherman, shall we say, in that sense, the Matchbox and the Armourfast, but close enough, as I say, 76mm gun. So from a scale comparison, they're okay for that perspective. Moving the turntable around here a smaller bit so you can get a frontal view, you can see there again that the width of the Matchbox is a little bit less than the Armourfast, of course, but again, as I say, it's not the exact same variant. And then the Hasegawa is a little bit larger again. Just to go around there again, once you have the Hasegawa in shot there, the other two are almost invisible, just to kind of greater emphasize the size of the Hasegawa unit. But nice little kits, in fairness, as I say. I use the Matchbox and the Armourfast for wargaming. The Hasegawa is belong to my young lad, so I have to be careful not to damage it whilst filming. So here we are looking down on a pair of Sherman Fireflies, of course equipped with a 17-pounder gun. The one on the left is the Armourfast one, which is a 172 scale, and the one on the right is a 176 scale Matchbox. It's an original boxing as opposed to the Revell reissue. The Matchbox one is quite old, late 70s, early 80s, I'd imagine. I think I put that kit together in the, I would have to say, mid to late 90s. But as you can see, being 176, it's a little bit shorter and it's a little bit less in length length. Gun barrel isn't too far off it. Turret is narrower, etc., etc. One would expect that in a 176 versus 172. But let's have a look at them from a height perspective, from a side-on shot as well, just for comparison's sake. Looking at the matchbox here in front, you can see it is considerably smaller than the Armourfast Firefly there. So, I mean, as I say, it is a 176 versus a 172, so one would, to be fair, expect that. Just bringing the turntable around here a little bit, just so you can see from a frontal perspective. Again, 176 on the left, that is obviously going to be a little bit narrower. You can see a height difference there as well. But as I say, it wouldn't bother me a whole lot, but it may bother you. So at least now you know that 176 and 172, there is quite a considerable difference in that perspective. But as I say, two nice little models, the matchbox being quite old at this stage, but the Armourfast is quite a nice little take on the Firefly, I have to say. There are better kits out there, yeah, for sure, but that's not a bad one. Okay, so these are the M4 A3 105 mils. The one on the left is actually a Diecast or Altea. It's one of those ones that came with magazines many years ago. They're Diecast, are readily available on eBay and that. I think they came out in the early 2000s, and I snapped up a few of them at the time, and basically I haven't done much with them apart from using them in war games and that. But they're a nice little I suppose kit isn't the right word, but model, I suppose, from that perspective. On the right, of course, we have our Armourfast, and to be fair, they match up very well together. There's no major difference. Obviously, the Armourfast detail is pretty good in comparison, I have to say. But the Altea or the Diecast one on the left is quite a nice little kit as well. So you'd have no problem matching those in together if you were to repaint the Diecast one on the left to match in with a battalion or whatever it was you were doing. So looking at the 105s kind of side-on perspective, again, very little to next to nothing really, to be honest, in any shape or form as regards variants. I have to say they match up pretty well. I'd be quite happy with those. The Diecast version at the back there might be fractionally higher as regards the engine and deck, but not much. There might be a small bit of height as regards the Armourfast one and the turret, but other than that, it's absolutely negligible, and I'd have no problem if I was matching up with those guys in painting up the two of those in the same color scheme. So from that perspective, no complaints here. So here we're looking down on the M4 Sherman, the basic variant. The one on the left is the Armourfast one, of course, and on the right is the old standard classic M4 Sherman from Airfix. That particular one there happens to be a Heller boxing, which is basically slightly different decals, but that's basically the exact same kit. As you can see, the one on the left being 172 is a bit larger than the one on the right, which is a 176, although sometimes you'll find that boxed with 172 on it. 172 is incorrect for that particular kit. It is a 176 or thereabouts, but quite a small little kit in fairness. But still, you know, as I say, it doesn't bother me. It matches in okay. I'm happy enough to use them, and we will be doing a review on the Airfix Sherman at some point in the future. But for now, we'll have a look at them from a side-on perspective, just for height and that, so you get an idea of how they compare in that perspective. So looking at the Airfix, which is nearest to the camera there, or in the Heller boxing with the Heller markings, the French, of course, Heller being a French company, it's easy to see that the Airfix / Heller variant is a little bit smaller as regards the length and height and the turret dimensions and everything. Basically, it is a smaller scale. It's 176 versus 172, so it's to be expected. But just as I say, you can see it there far more clearly, particularly if I rotate it around a little bit there as well. Be able to see in the width. The height isn't massively different, strangely enough, but it is noticeable, probably a bit more noticeable off camera, to be perfectly honest. Looking through the lens here, but at the same time, as I say, it would be something to take note of if those things were troublesome to you. But as I say, it's they're both quite nice little figure, or models, should I say, and I'm happy to use them in conjunction with each other on the Wargames table. But as I say, there is a slight difference in height and kind of a noticeable difference there, I think, in overall length as well. So guys, that was our quick comparison on the Armourfast Shermans in the Armourfast range against a few other brands, as I said, the Matchbox, the Airfix, Hasegawa and that. And just as I say, for interest's sake, just to see how they kind of measure up to each other and to other brands. As I say, from a comparison perspective, it doesn't really matter to me too much on the War Games table, but it might to you, and at least you've had the opportunity to have a look and see, you know, are these guys for you? Are they going to match in with maybe some of your existing forces, shall we say, or are they a different entity entirely? But that's basically it. As I said before about the Armourfast stuff, it's cheap, it's cheerful, it's not very detailed, but it's detailed enough for wargaming, and it's certainly a good foundation for kit bashing, etc, etc. So as I say, I like them, and I'll continue to use Armourfast for rapid fire and for general modelling purposes. So they're great for beginners, they're great for kit bashers, they're great for kids, they're great as an introduction. You know, there's not much to dislike about them if you're not looking for massive detail. If you're prepared to put it in yourself, great. If not, probably not the kit for you. But as I say, I quite like them. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching the series so far, and I hope you continue to watch any videos we put up on YouTube and that. And in the meantime, stay safe, keep modelling, and we shall talk to you soon. All the best. Take care for now.